guys, welcome to this video. So the aim of my channel really is to grow this channel into sort of a resource repo for excuse me, incoming, junior, and mid-level devs, or just devs in general, that can look back into my videos and find what they need to based on relevant content. So in this video, I am going to be talking about certain resources that any incoming or junior dev can point to, can use while beginning their journeys, adventures as a developer. So let's get right into it. Let's jump into it. So what I'm going to be talking about this video, and this is a part one. I'm going to be making a more detailed part two, but basically in this part one video, we're going to be talking about what is a text editor, what text editors are out there for use, where to find those tutorials that you are looking for, based on whatever topic that you want to study, resources that are out there for reference, and these are just a few, and we'll also talk about version control software. So let's get into it. What is a text editor? So a text editor, as you can see on my screen, I have Sublime 3 open. This is one of the most common text editors used in the industry, along with Atom and stuff like that. But let's talk about what a text editor actually is. A text editor is a software, a tool that is there for you to write code in, because you need an environment to code in, right? So for example, I'll open up Sublime Text that I have. So you can write your code in here. You can create files. You can have different layouts. You can have side by side. I like to keep my JavaScript or my HTML or my computational code on one side, and then I'll have my style sheets on the other. So just like a 2x2, depending on what screen size you have, whatever works best for you. But in a nutshell, this is what a text editor is. And you can say, specifically for Sublime, if you go down here to the bottom left, you can choose the language that you want to write in. So basically, whatever file you save your extension as. So I've saved mine as JSX here because I'm writing in React, so it automatically selects JavaScript. If you save the file as a PHP file, then automatically it's going to go to PHP. But say for example, if you are working with another language and you want to transpile, then you can just select whatever language you want. But that's a little bit more in depth. But basically, this is what a text editor is, and like I said, based on whatever language you select, different colors are reserved for certain keywords. For example, in HTML, like the div tag will always be red. Any native elements will always be in red. So like your p tags, div tags, and then I'll go to an actual JavaScript file here just to show you. Okay, I can't find one of my JavaScript files, but anyways, you get my point. Functions will render in certain colors, and once you start using it, it'll become more native, and you can even change the themes and stuff. So if I go to say, where is it? Layout? No. Yeah, if you wanted to change the layout, if I wanted to go back to single layout, I could just hit single, and now you're back to your single layout. But if I go to layout in columns 2, then all you have to do is just this is draggable, so you can just drag your file here, and now voila, you have a 2-column layout. And when I'm not working with my style sheet, I usually just push it to the side. You can just go in and push it back out whenever you want. But I want to show you how to change the theme, and I do this not so often, but for some reason I can't find it. Layout, no, I think it's in preferences. Yes, preferences. Anyways, it's in one of these. Color scheme. Yeah, I use okay, so here it is. Color scheme, and you say if I choose IFO, right? now you see, now you have a completely different color scheme. But you can use whatever you like. I prefer Monokai. Let's try Monokai Bright. Yeah, same thing. But yeah, it's fun to play around with, and once you get used to using Sublime or Atom or anything else, you can play around with these things. You can also install a lot of plugins and extensions. For example, plugins that will help you write cleaner code, lint your code better. You can explore this stuff all you want. So like, all you have to do, if you want Sublime, and this is the industry de facto, just go to Sublime, just type in Sublime text 3, in your browser, go to Google, hit download, and then just follow the instructions. It's really not that hard. And then once you have it, you just start using it, and then yeah. So that's Sublime. Another one is Atom. Atom text editor. So if you just click on Atom, Atom is really good too. It has a built-in console, and it's available on say Mac and Windows and all that stuff. It's really, really good. The website again is atom.io. My personal preference is Sublime, especially that's just what I started out with. But it's just very user-friendly and intuitive. Then you have Visual Studio Code, which is another good one. A lot of people use this. I haven't used this. Actually, I have used this at work, and the UI is pretty cool. Yeah, so check this out. Play with the experiment. So that's Visual Studio Code. Let's just jump on to the next one. So we've covered what is a text editor, what text editors are out there for use. Let's go to where to find tutorials. So whatever language that or topic that you're studying, you're going to have questions. You're going to have to Google. And the most common place for reference, if you're just a general software developer, you just want answers to questions, you go to Stack Overflow. So basically, Stack Overflow is the industry standard, both for freelancers and in the industry. It's been around for quite a while, and it's basically just a forum that developers post questions and answer questions, and you can learn tons of stuff. And so, for examples, right? So if you're studying JavaScript and you have a problem with the event loop, right? Say you want to. So let's type in a random question. So like, how does the event loop work in JavaScript? And if you scroll down, more than likely you're gonna find something in Stack Overflow. But let's try a more general question, right? So like, if you go to HTML, if you're doing HTML, or if you're doing some CSS, then type in a question like, okay, how to center a div vertically, right? Any real question. So then you go down, you have Stack Overflow, you click on it, and now the first question, the first one here is the question, right? This guy is saying, or this guy saying, I want to center a div vertically with CSS. I don't want tables or JavaScript. So yada. This is his question, and down below you have people like comment on the question, and then basically you have the answer. And this number up here is basically their votes. People can usually upvote or downvote questions or answers, and if you scroll down, like the lower votes are, they go in descending order. But Stack Overflow, if you have any questions, you can always just go on here and you can type in, like, say, any questions on, let's say, JavaScript, right? And now you have, for example, a question somebody asked, how do I return the response from an asynchronous call? Again, question here, and then the answer is down here. Obviously, this one is the most correct answer because it's got the most upvotes. Very, very helpful in your free time if you want to experiment with this, play around with it, and just to learn. On the side here, you have featured questions that are like related questions. But yeah, Stack Overflow is the industry standard. Also, you can go to Stack Exchange. Stack Exchange is a great one. And keep in mind, Stack Overflow is not just for developers. You can there are many topics that you can find questions for Stack Overflow. You can find answers on Stack Overflow. Excuse me. Yeah. So Stack Exchange is usually more for like math or like web design. So like if you type in web design, for example, tons of topics, tons of questions. Stack Exchange is another one, but I prefer and I recommend Stack Overflow because that's just what most of the industry uses. And that's where you have the most experienced developers answering tough questions. And this is a very community-driven field, software development. So you'll always find people that are extremely helpful that you can always reach out to help for. And it's great for networking too. Anyways, moving on. So another great resource is W3 Schools. And this is a strictly reference W3 Schools. Strictly for reference. You can even experiment with it. So you can, for example, learn HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, learn graphics. You can learn Sass, which is a CSS preprocessor. You can learn JavaScript, jQuery, Angular. You learn JSON and Ajax. You can even learn W3. Look at that. And you can learn server-side languages, SQL, PHP, Java, Python, ASP. Like I said, you can learn pretty much everything you need to on here. So for example, say I click on, I want to learn JavaScript, right? So you just basically just go through the tutorials, and now on the side here, you start from introduction to like the most basic, and then you get into things like objects, events, and then more and more complicated things. And then you have like JSON and APIs, working with different paradigms, as object-oriented and functional programming. And you can learn about the DOM, for example. So W3 Schools is an amazing resource. I highly recommend you check it out. The link is w3schools.com. Yeah, and just go on there, experiment with whatever you want. Next resource is MDN. MDN is a great resource. It's called Mozilla Developer Network. So like MDN, another great resource for reference. MDN docs are amazing. I use them all the time at work. So for example, let's say I forgot what the reduce method does in JavaScript, right? So like if I type in reduce JavaScript, now MDN is going to be on here. Bam, I have MDN. And now you have an explanation up top here. You have an example. You can even run the code snippets here, and you can reset them, run them again. You can manipulate them. Excuse me. Yeah, you can do different computations, and then you go down and you have a more in-depth explanation of the syntax. And then basically on MDN, what I like the most is it breaks down everything piece by piece. So like, for example, in the reduce, right, these are different parameters. You have the callback, the accumulator, the current value, the current index, and then the array. These are all parameters that the reduce function uses, and MDN breaks down all of these for you. And it's the most thorough documentation that's out there, in my humble opinion. But yeah, that's MDN. You can play around with it. You can do a lot of reference, a lot of research on here, and they have pretty much everything you need for most languages. So that's MDN. And now let's go to the Google Docs. So Google Developer Docs. Google Developers. Okay, so on Google Developers, you can do pretty much everything. I would say just go on here and just find out. There's a plethora of information that you can choose from. You can even take different courses. You can read blogs about development. You can do pretty much anything research related. So Google speaks for itself. Just check it out. My job here is to just point out to these resources, and you can experiment with them on your own time. GitHub Forums is good. GitHub Forums is mainly for issue tracking. So for example, I'm working on an app, right, to build an earthquake alert system. So if I have a certain bug with whatever, then I can basically just type in the bug into Google, right? Say whatever bug I have, I type it into Google, and then I get the search results. And more than likely, you're going to find a GitHub form that people who had the similar issues have posted it on. And now there's a system of awareness that, okay, this bug exists. What has been done to fix the bug or bugs, and what the status is of that current bug. So that you'll basically you'll stumble upon that in your endeavors of Googling as a developer, and most of our jobs as developer is Googling. But let's just get back to this point real quick. I have Sublime here, and I just noticed that I'm inside a JSX file. And for those of you who don't know what JSX is basically a language that React uses, and it basically blends HTML and JavaScript, and it allows you to inject HTML into your JavaScript. And basically, I have here on my language selector, I think I deselected it, so I want to go back into JavaScript and hit JavaScript. And now, oh, excuse me, I meant to hit JSX. JSX, where is it? Ding, ding, ding. Bear with me one moment here. I don't know why it says doing that, but anyways, we'll come back to that. I'm in a bit of a time crunch at the moment, so and let's just talk about version control software because I'm running out of time. Version control software is basically any software that allows you to store your code onto onto the internet. So let's go to GitHub. GitHub is the most common one. So what is GitHub? GitHub is basically, you can go here to basically track all your code, and you can upload code, you can check out other people's code. GitHub is one, and then you have SourceTree. SourceTree is another great one. Just check it out. SourceTree is great. You can use on Windows and Mac. GitHub is a little bit more in depth. That you can take a course on GitHub. Let's just GitHub course, not course play, GitHub course. So if you want to learn how to use GitHub, just go to say Udacity, and there are tons of courses on how to use Git and GitHub. No. And I'm sure you can find tons that are free. But yeah, Codecademy. Just go to Codecademy. You can learn the basics of Git. This is version control that you will be using in the industry as a software developer at every job, or companies that use GitHub. But let's just go back to SourceTree real quick. At work, at my job, we use SourceTree, and SourceTree is very powerful. And comparing it to GitHub, it is more visual, it's more UI friendly. So you're not basically just typing commands inside the terminal, and this is more hands-on. So I don't know, you might prefer SourceTree, but for version control, when you get to that, the reason I'm not going too in depth into version control right now, because I don't want to intimidate anybody that's just new, somebody who's just starting out, because it can get intimidating for somebody who has not a lot of experience with it. So just start off with the basics, learn the languages that you want to, learn the language, I should say, that you want to, and then move on to the next language. But once you start doing that, once you get, good at it, then you can start indulging in version control. So yeah, either GitHub or SourceTree. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. In the next video, I'll be going more in depth, and yeah, just stay tuned, and I hope this video helped you. And yeah, if you have any comments or suggestions, just please, you know, send me a message, or yeah, just reach out to me. But thanks, and see you guys in the next video. Well, no, I don't want to quit Google Chrome.